My fiancée met her ex and acted like nothing had happened. I told her to take off the ring and walked away from the life we were supposed to build together. What she thought would be a reunion turned into a reality check she never saw coming. When Lily and I got engaged last year, I thought I'd found the one. She had this way of making everyone in the room feel seen, but when she looked at me, it was like the whole world blurred out. We'd been together for 3 years, and everything about being with her felt easy, right, natural. She said yes when I proposed, and just like that, we were planning a summer wedding. Venue tours, cake tastings, laughing over color palettes. We couldn't agree on it all felt like the beginning of something beautiful. And then she left. Not forever, not dramatically. She just said she was heading back to her hometown for a couple of weeks to spend time with her sister. Lily had always been close with her family, and she hadn't been back in a while, so it didn't feel strange. She kissed me goodbye, suitcase in hand, and promised she'd be back before I knew it. The first night she called to let me know she got there safely. She sounded tired, but okay. I told her to relax and enjoy the time with her sister. I meant it. I didn't want her to feel guilty for taking a break. But the next day, something shifted. She called again, and her voice was different, quieter, like there was a weight behind her words. And then she said it. I think I need some time to think. That sentence hit harder than I expected. I asked what she meant. Was she stressed about the wedding, about us? Had I done something? She didn't give me a real answer. She's gonna be fudge. Just that she needed space. She promised we'd talk soon. But we didn't. After that call, she stopped replying. I texted her just simple things. Hey, how's it going? Or hope you're doing okay. Nothing. I called. No answer. I even checked her social media, which normally was full of coffee shop selfies and random sky photos. Nothing. Complete silence. I texted her sister, hoping for a little clarity. All I got back was, haven't seen her much. Sorry. What the hell was going on? At first, I told myself she needed space. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she was trying to work through something private. But as days turned into weeks, the silence started to rot from the inside. This wasn't Lily. She didn't just vanish. Not like this. I stopped sleeping. Friends tried to reassure me. She probably just needs a breather, they said, but their words felt empty. It wasn't just the ghosting. It was the way everything had gone from warm and steady to cold and confusing overnight. A week before she left, we were literally picking out flowers. I started questioning everything. Was she even with her sister? Was she okay? Or was there someone else? I hated that my mind went there, but the longer she stayed silent, the louder those doubts got. One night, I'd had enough. I couldn't sit in that apartment another minute, wondering what had happened. I grabbed a bag, filled up the car, and drove to her hometown. It wasn't a short drive, but I needed answers. I rehearsed every possible version of the conversation we might have. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she was going through something personal. I tried to be ready for anything. Anything except what I found. When I knocked on the door at her parents' house, Lily opened it. The shock on her face said it all. She wasn't expecting me. Not even close. She just stared at me like I was the last person on earth she thought she'd see. She stepped aside awkwardly and let me in. Everything about the energy in that house felt wrong. She made small talk, asked about traffic, if I wanted water. I answered her like a robot, just waiting for her to get to the point. Finally, after an awkward pause, I asked the question I'd been holding in for weeks. Why haven't you been answering me? She looked away. I've been trying to figure some things out. I was tired of vague. Figure what out, Lily? That's when she finally said it. I ran into my ex. My stomach dropped. I didn't speak right away. I just stared at her, trying to make sense of what she'd said. I asked carefully, what do you mean? She told me they ran into each other at the grocery store, that it wasn't planned, that they just started talking. But it didn't stop there. I've been spending some time with him, she admitted. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Spending time with him. She said she was trying to sort out whether she had unresolved feelings. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Unresolved feelings, I said, my voice starting to rise. We're planning a wedding. What do you mean, unresolved feelings? She looked away again. I didn't want to go into our marriage with doubts. And what about me? I asked. What about being honest? What about communication? Ghosting me for weeks while she figured out her emotions with her ex. That's not doubt. That's disrespect. She said she didn't want to hurt me, but she did. The conversation went nowhere fast. She couldn't give me straight answers. Every question I asked was met with vague excuses about clarity, needing space, not wanting to rush. By the end of it, I was numb. So I stood up and said, "You need time, fine, so do I." Her eyes widened like she hadn't expected me to throw her words back at her. But I didn't wait around. I walked out, got in my car, and started the long drive home. That drive was brutal. My thoughts wouldn't stop looping. Everything about our relationship suddenly felt shaky. How could someone I trusted so deeply, someone I was ready to marry, just disappear when things got complicated? Over the next few days, I kept it together just enough to go to work, but I wasn't really there. I smiled when people asked how I was doing. Just tired. That was my go-to line. Eventually, I told a couple of close friends. They were shocked, angry. Mark said, "Dude, she should have told you the second that guy showed up." And Jenna, she didn't sugarcoat anything. If she's entertaining her ex while engaged, she doesn't deserve you. I needed to hear that. Still, I felt like a fool. How did I not see it coming? We'd been picking venues, talking about baby names, imagining our future. And now I was sitting in a half-empty apartment, wondering if any of it had ever been real. I scrolled back through our texts, searching for signs. Everything looked normal, happy. She was telling me she loved me right up until the moment she left. One night, I messaged her sister again. I didn't want to drag her into it, but I needed clarity. She replied, "Lily's just going through some stuff. She'll figure it out." Figure it out. We were supposed to be a team, not one person figuring out their feelings while the other gets left behind in radio silence. A week later, Lily finally texted me, "Hey, how are you?" That was it. Not "I'm sorry," not "can we talk," just a casual check-in like she hadn't disappeared for weeks. I didn't respond because I didn't know what to say. "Hey, I'm great. Thanks for ghosting me while you rekindled things with your ex." Yeah, no. The silence between us said more than her message ever could. I started asking myself the hard questions. Could I forgive her? Could I ever trust her again? And if I did, why? Would I ever feel safe with her the way I used to? Breaking up wasn't just about ending a relationship. It was about unraveling an entire future. But staying meant pretending everything was okay when it clearly wasn't. By the end of that week, I knew. If Lily wanted to come back, it wasn't going to be easy. And even then, I wasn't sure I'd ever be able to look at her the same way. But then she showed up, and nothing could have prepared me for what came next. By the end of that week, I had started making peace with the silence. It still hurt, of course. You don't just turn off 3 years of love and memories like a light switch, but it was a quiet kind of pain now. Familiar, predictable, and honestly, I was starting to move on at least a little. I wasn't out partying or trying to rebound. I wasn't even talking to anyone new. I was just cleaning the apartment, going to work, watching old shows I barely paid attention to. Nothing special, just survival. And then she came back. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was halfway through rewatching some forgettable Netflix series, not really invested, just using it as background noise to keep my brain occupied. Then there was a knock at the door. I assumed it was a delivery, maybe one of my friends dropping by unannounced. What I didn't expect, what I never could have imagined, was Lily. She was standing there with a smile like nothing had happened, like she hadn't vanished for weeks, like she hadn't left me spiraling while she sorted through her feelings for her ex. "Hey," she said cheerful, like we'd just spoken yesterday. I stood there dumbfounded. Hey." She stepped inside like it was still her place, complimented how clean the apartment looked, sat on the couch, patted the cushion next to her. "We need to talk," she said, and I braced myself. Maybe this was the apology. Maybe she'd finally explain everything. Maybe she'd give me something, anything, to help me make sense of the wreckage she left behind. But instead, she started talking about the wedding. "The venue is still holding our date," she said casually, like we'd been emailing vendors this whole time. "And I was thinking we should go with lavender for the table settings. It's timeless, don't you think?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Lily, what are you doing here?" She blinked, confused. "I'm here to fix things," she said like that explained everything. And I laughed. A sharp, bitter laugh I didn't even recognize as my own. "Fix things," I said. "You mean the relationship you ghosted while you reconnected with your ex? That relationship." She flinched, but didn't back down. "That's over. I realized I don't have feelings for him anymore. It's you I want to be with." I stood up. I couldn't sit still. My body felt too tense, like my skin didn't fit anymore. "And you expect me to just, what? Take you back? Pretend like none of this happened?" "I needed time," she insisted. "I didn't want to hurt you." I turned on her, anger bubbling under my skin. "You didn't want to hurt me. You disappeared for weeks, Lily. No calls, no texts, nothing. You let me sit here wondering what the hell happened to the woman I was gonna marry. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I snapped. You went back to your hometown, ran into your ex, and instead of being honest, you shut me out completely. And now you want to act like everything's normal. She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. Do you even realize what that did to me? I said, my voice lower now, heavier. I was here thinking you were overwhelmed, maybe depressed, maybe something happened with your family. I was worried. I blamed myself. But the truth was, you just wanted to see if your ex still gave you butterflies. She didn't say anything, just stared at me, tears welling up in her eyes. I made a mistake, she whispered. I know I messed up, but I'm here now. I want to make it right. I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, I repeated bitter. Then start by taking off the ring. She looked stunned. What? I pointed at her hand. The ring. My ring. Take it off. You don't get to wear it like none of this happened. She hesitated just for a second, but then slowly slid it off her finger and placed it on the coffee table between us. She stood up like she was waiting for me to change my mind, like she thought there was still a chance I'd wrap my arms around her and say, let's fix this. But I didn't. I just looked at her, cold, detached, done. Is this really it? She asked. You're just done. Yes, I said. I'm done. I'm not an option, Lily. You don't get to hit pause on me while you figure out your feelings and come back when it's convenient. That's not love. That's selfish. Her lips trembled. I could see she wanted to say something, maybe defend herself, maybe beg. But instead, she walked to the door. She looked back, once eyes full of something between regret and disbelief, and then she left. I sat back down on the couch, the ring still sitting there between us, like the ghost of a future we weren't going to have. I stared at it for a long time, trying to understand how it had come to this. 3 weeks ago, I was planning a wedding. Now I was sitting in silence, nursing the sting of betrayal from the person I thought would never hurt me. But here's the thing, despite all of it, despite the heartbreak, I didn't feel regret. I felt clarity. She made a choice, and now I was making mine. I wasn't someone's second choice. I wasn't a placeholder until they got their emotions sorted out. I deserved better, and I was finally ready to walk away for good. After Lily walked out that day, something in me finally settled. Not in a good way, not in a peaceful movie ending kind of way, just settled, like a wound that's finally stopped bleeding, but still throbs whenever you move. I didn't cry, I didn't scream or smash things. I just sat there with the engagement ring, sitting on the coffee table staring at it like it might blink or speak or disappear. It didn't. It just sat there silent and meaningless. And, honestly, that silence was easier than the chaos she'd dragged me through. A couple of days passed. I didn't hear from her, and I didn't expect to. I went to work. I answered emails. I made small talk with coworkers, but nothing really registered. It felt like I was going through the motions just to keep myself distracted. Then I got a text from Mia. Mia was one of Lily's friends. We were friendly but not close. So when she messaged me with a simple, "Hey, I heard what happened. Just wanted to check in and see how you're doing," I was caught off guard. I wasn't sure how to respond at first. Was she checking in for Lily? Was this a trap? But after staring at the message for way too long, I replied, "Hey, thanks. I'm getting through it." She replied quickly, told me she'd been in a similar situation before, said it sucked, said she was sorry I had to go through it, and that opened the floodgates. We started texting more. She wasn't pushy or nosy. She didn't pry or take sides. She just listened, let me vent. She offered validation without trying to fix anything. It was kind of refreshing to just talk to someone who wasn't part of the disaster. A couple of days later, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I hesitated, but she convinced me. "Come on," she said. "You need to get out of the house. It's just coffee." And that's exactly what it was. Just coffee. No pressure, no weird energy. We talked about work, college, stupid things like favorite fast food chains and old video games. She laughed at my terrible jokes. I laughed at hers. It felt normal. But then toward the end, she said something that stuck with me. "You deserve someone who chooses you, not someone who runs away the second things get complicated." I didn't say anything back. I just nodded, because she wasn't wrong. But even though Mia was cool and yeah, she was attractive, I wasn't in that place. I wasn't ready to start something new, even if it was right in front of me. I still had too much of Lily's mess in my head. Still, Mia kept reaching out. Texts, memes, little check-ins. Then came the dinner invite. "It's just dinner," she said. Don't overthink it. So I went. And man, I shouldn't have. She dressed like it was a date, makeup, heels, the whole thing. I showed up in jeans and a hoodie. It was awkward from the jump. The conversation was fine, but the vibe had changed. There was an energy there, like she was waiting for me to make a move. Like this was a test, and I didn't even know I was taking it. When I got home that night, I made a decision. No more one-on-one hangouts. I wasn't going to lead her on or create another mess. I'd been honest with her about where I was emotionally, but I could tell she wanted more than I could give. What I didn't expect was for Lily to find out. I don't know if Mia told her or if one of their mutual friends ran their mouth. Or maybe Lily just has some sixth sense for knowing when I'm finally starting to feel okay again. Either way, she showed up. No warning. Just showed up at my front door pounding like she was about to report a fire. I opened the door, already annoyed. And there she was, fire in her eyes. "What the hell are you doing?" she demanded, storming into my apartment. "Nice to see you too, Lily," I said, shutting the door behind her. "What do you want?" She spun around, arms crossed, glaring. "You're hanging out with Mia, my friend." I crossed my arms too. "What exactly makes you think you get to ask me about anything I do now? Are you kidding me? She's my friend. This is humiliating." I let out a bitter laugh. "Humiliating, Lily, you ghosted me for weeks while you were off reconnecting with your ex. You don't get to act like the victim here." Her jaw tightened. "So that's it. You're just moving on. What did you think I was going to do? Sit here waiting around while you figured out if I was still worth your time?" Her voice cracked. "I came back because I realized I still love you." I stared at her, cold, tired, too late. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Honestly, maybe you should go back to your ex. You're clearly good at circling back to old options." That hit a nerve. She turned bright red. "You think you're better than me? That you get to stand there all smug while you mess around with my friend?" "I'm not messing around. And again, not your business. You don't get to storm in here and throw accusations after everything you did." She stepped closer, voice sharp. "You'll regret this. Don't think I won't make you regret this." I just opened the door. "Go ahead, Lily. Make your threats. But you're not my problem anymore." She stared at me for a second like she was waiting for me to take it back. I didn't, so she stormed out. I locked the door behind her and let out a long breath. That was it. The final scene. The last performance in the show I never auditioned for. Whatever she did next, not my concern. For the first time since this mess began, I felt calm. Still a little bitter, still sad, but calm. It was over, and I was okay with that. After Lily stormed out that day, the quiet felt different. It wasn't heavy or tense anymore. It was peaceful. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the next shoe to drop. I didn't have to justify myself. I didn't have to chase closure. I didn't owe anyone anything. A few days later, Mia texted me again. She wanted to grab lunch. I hesitated. Mia had been kind when everything fell apart. She was a good listener, and I appreciated that. But it was getting obvious that she saw this as something more, and I didn't. Still, I figured lunch wouldn't hurt as long as I was honest. We met at a cafe downtown, casual. The conversation started light work, movies, random stuff. But something felt off. Mia laughed a little too hard, leaned in a little too close, gave me that look, the one that says, "I'm hoping for more." About halfway through, I decided to be direct. "Mia, I really appreciate everything I said. You were there when things were rough, and I'll never forget that. But I want to be clear, I'm not looking for anything beyond friendship." Her smile faltered for a split second, but she recovered quickly. "Oh yeah, of course. Totally get it," she said, waving it off like it was nothing. We finished lunch, and I thought that was it. I figured we'd both move on. No awkwardness, no drama. But as I walked to my car, I caught a glimpse of someone standing down the street. It was Lily, leaning against a streetlight, pretending to scroll on her phone. But I knew her posture. I knew that look. She wasn't just there. She was watching me. I didn't say anything, didn't call out. I just got in my car and drove away. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Over the next few days, it started happening more. I'd come home from work and see a car parked down the street, hers. I'd go to the grocery store and catch her ducking into another aisle. Always just far enough to pretend it was coincidence. Never close enough to confront. She wasn't messaging me, wasn't calling, just lingering. It was creepy and sad and exhausting. One night, after I spotted her car again, parked near my building, I finally texted her. "Lily, I've noticed you around. Please stop following me. This isn't healthy and it's not going to change anything." She didn't reply, but her car was gone the next day, and after that she stayed gone. The air felt clearer. The tension that had been shadowing me for so long finally lifted. I could breathe again, really breathe. Mia texted me a few more times, but I kept it light and distant. I wasn't about to get dragged into another situation that could turn messy. Right now, I needed to focus on myself. One evening, I went for a walk. No destination, just fresh air. The sky was painted in soft orange and pink, and I remember thinking, this is what peace feels like. It had taken losing everything I thought I wanted to realize what I actually needed. Clarity, boundaries, self-respect. Lily wasn't a monster, she wasn't evil, but she made choices that told me exactly where I stood in her life. And that was never going to be good enough. I'd spent so long trying to be the understanding guy, the one who gives second chances, the one who waits it out. But in the end, that guy just got hurt. I was done being that guy. So I started over, slowly, on my own terms. I focused on work, on reconnecting with old friends, on rediscovering things I'd put on hold for the relationship. I went to the gym, read more, slept better, took actual breaths without waiting for a message that would never come. And one day, I realized I hadn't thought about Lily in hours, then days. The scars were still there, but they weren't bleeding anymore. The truth is, you don't always get the apology you deserve. You don't always get closure wrapped in a bow. Sometimes all you get is silence and the decision to protect your peace anyway. That was enough. So if you're reading this and wondering if you should wait a little longer for someone to change, if you're hoping they'll finally see your worth, ask yourself this: are you their choice or their backup plan? Because the second you realize you were the latter, it's time to walk away. That's what I did, and I haven't looked back since.